Eu quero,
First of all,
primeiro,
I would like
agradecer
to thank
a decisão
the decision that was made
dos companheiros da Arábia
of our
Saudita,
brothers from Saudi Arabia,
sobretudo do
and
seu
above all,
representante
of
Yasser
his
al-Romain, governador
FII
do Fundo Soberano do Reino da Arábia
representative,
Saudita,
the governor of the
Instituto
Sovereign
e
Fund
presidente do Conselho de
of the Kingdom
Administração
of Saudi Arabia, and the
ter
president
decidido
of the
fazer esse evento
Institute
aqui no Rio de
and the
Janeiro.
council, Mr. Yassir
Quero agradecer ao
Al-Rahman, to
prefeito Eduardo
have
Paes,
this edition here. I want to thank the mayor of Rio, Eduardo
Castro,
Paes, and to Governor
por
Castro,
participarem
who for participating
sessão
in the opening
da cidade do Rio de
session
Janeiro
in the city of
para que a gente
Rio,
pudesse
so that
fazer
we could
evento
have an
extraordinário.
extraordinary event as we see this one
Quero
is. I would like
agradecer a todos
also
os
to thank all the
representantes
representatives
da Arábia Saudita
from
que estão
Saudi
presentes.
Arabia that are here attending
Quero
this
agradecer
meeting. I
aos
also would like
companheiros
to
do meu
thank our
governo que
brothers from
vieram
my government
participar,
that also came to Rio to
representado pelo
participate,
ministro
represented
Costa,
by Rui Costa, the
pelo
Chief of
ministro
Staff of the
Filho,
Presidency,
pelo ministro
by
Carlos Fávaro.
Minister of
Quero
Agriculture, Carlos
cumprimentar
Fávaro,
também a nossa
and other
companheira
authorities.
Magda
And
Chambriard,
I would like to greet our
presidenta da
sister
Petrobras.
Magda Chambriard,
Quero
that is the
cumprimentar
CEO
Luiz
of the
Mercadante,
Petrobras, the
presidente
state
do
oil
BNDES.
company. And
E quero
I also
cumprimentar
like to greet
os empresários
the
brasileiros,
Brazilian
começando do nosso
entrepreneurs and
companheiro
greeting
Josué,
our
presidente da Fiesp, São
Josué, who
Paulo.
is the president of the Federation of Industries of the state of São Paulo.
Aqui,
And I
os
also would like
empresários
to greet
brasileiros.
the Brazilian businessmen and
Não é
women.
fácil,
It is not easy.
não é fácil
It's not easy
a gente imaginar
for
o
us to
Brasil
imagine
fazendo
Brazil
evento dessa
hosting
magnitude.
an event of this
Essas coisas,
magnitude.
normalmente,
These things
a
usually
gente só via
we only used to
acontecer em
see
países
happening in
europeus
European
ou nos
countries
Estados Unidos
or in the
ou no
US
Japão.
or in Japan.
O Brasil
Brazil
nunca foi tão
never
considerado país.
was
Por isso eu estou
so considered
orgulhoso.
as a country. So that's why I'm very
Primeira
proud.
vez
It's the very first time that Brazil hosts
Iniciativa
an edition of the Future Investment Initiative. This space
se consolidou como
that has already consolidated itself as the Desert Davos, which is as good as the Alps Davos. It confirms the consolidation of emerging players in the world economic debate going beyond the traditional international centers. It's more than timely to acknowledge the growing weight of countries such as Saudi Arabia, Brazil, partners that are closer, more and more closer, as partners also in the BRICS.
visita a Riad.
My visit to Riyadh
Em novembro passado,
last November and the recent visit of my Vice President Alckmin shows that we are giving tremendous impetus to this collaboration.
Rio de Janeiro,
The choice of the city of Rio to host this event shows a sign of trust of more than 1,000 participants, the trust that they place in our country. I'm here today to show that Brazil is worthy of this trust. I always say that the most important thing for an investor is stability, and this Brazil has plenty to offer. Following the citizenry constitution of 1988, we have improved our legal frameworks and we guarantee judicial stability in the country. And in the same way, we also guarantee social stability, economic stability, and fiscal stability. With great determination, we have overcome the phantom of inflation and of the foreign debt, and we managed to achieve economic stability. We knew how to navigate under the crisis of 2008 and overcome the impact of the pandemics and found again the road towards growth. Going against the pessimist expectations, our GDP has grown 2.5% in the last 12 months. We're moving forward to become the 8th largest economy of the world. Until the end of my term, I believe that we can go back and become the 6th largest economy in the world, as we were in 2011. Our trade balance has reached a record of 2023 with the largest surplus in history. The exports between January and April of this year has reached a record hallmark of $108 billion with a great share of goods of the processing manufacturing industry. We're now fixing the house and putting things under and putting the public accounts in order so that we can assure fiscal balance. The increase of tax collection and the decline of the interest rates will allow the reduction of the public deficit without compromising the capacity for public investment. The tax reform will make our regime more fair and efficient and without penalizing the poorest and giving more competitiveness to our economy. We know that economy does not exist in a vacuum. The markets is not an abstract entity separated from politics and from civil society. Nothing of that can be sustained without political and social stability. Fortunately, we have demonstrated our resilience vis-à-vis the biggest ordeal that Brazil has faced in its recent history. Our institutions survived the attempt to dismantle the Brazilian state, and democracy has prevailed, although it had suffered the attacks of extreme right forces. The government, the federal government, has resumed the federative pact with the states and municipality, has brought back a dialogue with the Congress and respecting the judiciary rulings. Through the Social Sustainable Economic Development Council, civil society is now being heard once again about the guidelines and in formulating public policies. We have restored our capacity to plan for development, and so finally we could concentrate ourselves in what really matters, which is to improve the living standards of the people. For that, it was necessary to place again the poor in the national budget. We have reestablished the policy of appreciation of the minimum wage and restructured the social programs. The unemployment that we had between February and April was the smallest unemployment rate since 2014. The theme of this forum is invest in dignity, and this is our priority. Henry Ford already had taught us that the business sector can only prosper if the workers could consume what they manufacture. It's useless to build prosperity islands surrounded by absolute poverty. A lot of money in the hands of few means hunger, sickness, illiteracy, and criminality. But if many have at least a little bit of money, society can improve for the better. In an international scenario, under so many uncertainties, Brazil is seen as a safe haven. We are a country that loves peace and averse to geopolitical rivalries. We dialogue and negotiate with everybody that wishes to contribute and can contribute for the progress of the country and of the world. And under any power constellation that is formed in the global panorama, the Brazil star will continue to shine. We will be there to build bridges and to shorten distances. And this is the spirit of our chairs at the G20 process, BRICS and COPE for Berlin next year. The G20 is the place where North and South meet to seek for consensus that will bring collective benefits. It's a privileged space to fight inequalities that continue to exist within our countries and amongst them. COP30 will be a determining event for the planet. Without the efforts of all, according to their capacities and responsibilities, the global warming can reach catastrophic levels. We are experiencing that at first hand with the floods in the state of Rio Grande do Sul in Brazil, where to rebuild that state will demand massive investments from government and from the private sector. There's no denialism that is capable to refute the tragedy that has hit our brothers from the state of Rio Grande, the Gaúchos. Public investment is decisive to induce in development, but the role of private sector is an important dynamic ally if state and business sector converge around the same vision of the future. Brazil, that we envisage, is a giant of sustainability and a heavyweight in terms of food security. Brazil is a country that is capable to enhance its agricultural output, respect the environment, and to renew its industrial vocation through clean energy and through technological innovation. The roadmap for this Brazil is being now drawn by the new acceleration growth program and the Brazil New Industry. The new accelerated growth program will build the necessary conditions to increase the competitiveness of the Brazilian economy. Between public and private sources, will we invest resources in the order of $320 billion, 70% of which will be invested till the year 2026. We will promote the modernization of our logistic infrastructure, building and enhancing highways, railways, hydroways, ports and airports, and the electric power grid, taking electricity to all. We will make our cities more resilient and to improve the infrastructure in terms of providing public social services. We will also invest in the physical integration of our neighbors through 5 multimodal routes that will cross over South America to the Atlantic and Pacific Ocean. The new program, the new Brazil industry or manufacturing sector, will mobilize financing lines, government procurement, and regulatory improvements to foster strategic sectors for our sustainable development model. In 16 months of my new term, we have already approved $15 billion for projects that are linked to innovation, sustainability, and enhancement of our productivity and the Brazilian export capacity. In a world where the economic basis will be revolutionized by the digital and energy transition, Brazil will come out as a country of great opportunities. Our sustainable development vision for the Amazon tropical region, which is one of the biomes that are the most important in the planet, is based in the potential of our bioeconomics. We are today one of the countries that has one of the cleanest energy matrix. 88% of our electricity comes from renewable sources such as biomass, hydroelectrical power, wind power, and solar power. And soon we'll see the green hydrogen. We have made an option for the biofuels 40 years ago, a long time before the discussion about alternatives for fossil fuel would win traction. A few days ago, we have opened the largest ethanol plant of second generation in the world. We were also pioneer and continue to be in the forefront of bioenergy. This places us in advantage to occupy spaces and other important niches, such as the production of green hydrogen and critical minerals. Brazil has an extraordinary potential to become the largest green hydrogen producer of the world. We have strategic minerals in our reserves like niobium, graphite, nickel, and rare earths. We try to seek partners to add value to these resources to our territory. Our condition of a mere raw material exporter is not of our interest. And it's not of our interest. So we can produce locally green steel and components for electric batteries that could generate more income for our population. The EVs, electrical vehicles, are the engine of the rebirth of the Brazilian automobile industry today. We don't simply want to become maquiladoras or just assembly plants. We are perfectly capable to manufacture parts and components in our country. We are already leaders in many sectors that are linked to high technology. Our competence is broadly acknowledged in manufacturing electrical buses and aircrafts. The potential of the Brazilian aeronautics industry is of such importance that we're already talking about the first prototypes of electrical vehicles that could take off and have vertical landing. We are ready to explore new technological boundaries. We will elaborate a national plan on artificial intelligence that will map the necessary process infrastructure to reach these strategic areas. These are the reasons that explain why Brazil has become the second greatest destination of foreign direct investments in 2023. I see in the relationship with Saudi Arabia great potential of reciprocal gains And I want it to be a role model for the relations, South-South relations that we all want to promote. The very clear-cut points of convergence between our development projects. It's very clear. The objective of the Vision 2030 vision to diversify the economy and make it grow with innovation is also what moves us forward. We have great expectations in creating a bilateral fund for investments in special opportunities that will strengthen even more the partnership between us. Saudi Arabia will always have Brazil as a privileged ally and partner. I have the certainty that this event will make it possible to have great debates and develop businesses that will, I invite you all to invest more and more in our country. My dear friends,
embora tenha trazido
although I brought my written speech here to follow the protocol, the international protocol, I would need to say some words from my heart, words from deep from my heart. I want you all to know that Brazil is seeking to become not only a emerging market, emerging country or a developing country. We are fully determined to become a big country. And so that we can become a big country, we have to think big. We cannot think small. We have to define very clearly what are our priorities for this country that we have to offer to any foreign investor in this country. When we talk about the climate change issue, when we talk about the energy issue, I can guarantee to all of you that with all the full respect of the planet Earth, there's no other country that can offer the quality of the things that we are going to offer for the investors that wish here to produce, to create a new energy production cycle, and that wish to make their companies grow. Brazil will not throw out this opportunity to become a great economy. You all know that this year we chair the G20 in Brazil. We'll have BRICS meeting in Russia. Next year we'll have the BRICS process in Brazil, and we have the COP30 also in Brazil. These are huge events that can clearly show the many faces of Brazil, and we are not only the Brazil of carnival, of the soccer, of Brazil of the violence. No, we're also the Brazil that have men and women that want to grow and develop themselves, and they want to work, that want to study, and that's why I can't talk about the economy without placing the social issues and putting it in the agenda of the day. All the discussions about the economics, we talk a lot about things, but the social issues don't exist, and they do exist. And they are close to our heels, close to our doors of our homes, in the streets. And so that's why this digital extraordinary world still allows that 735 million people still, nevertheless, go to sleep every night without having food to eat. In a world that we have genetic knowledge and science to produce food for everybody, something is missing in this world that we live in. We have to do something about these people that are in hunger. The last 2 years, almost $3 trillion were spent in weapons when this money could have be spent in investment, in peace, in reducing the absolute poverty, inequality, and poverty in the world. And I say all that because I have a faith commitment. It's not a commitment for one term. It's only meaning for a ruler to rule for something if he has a commitment to take care of its people and give equal opportunity to all and to allow all without any kind of differentiation, regardless where they were born, regardless of the skin of their color, regardless the gender. They should have the opportunity to develop themselves, to grow together, and to have a life with dignity, and to become a person that is respected in its passage through earth. So that's why I wanted to say to my dear brothers and sisters from Saudi Arabia, and to our president, the chairman of the FII, and my brothers, sisters, and the business representatives that are here, that's why I wanted to say to all of you in a very clear-cut way, in a very firm way, you will listen to my ministers speaking here. You're going to listen what we're doing to this country. You will listen about the National Development Bank, the chairman said that, and the CEO of Petrobras, the state oil company, we are almost disputing, competing with Aramco. Petrobras is very big, and so when we start to explore the equatorial strip, I think that we'll have a quality leap forward in an extraordinary way in oil production, and we want to do this within the legal framework, respecting the environment. But we will not waste this opportunity. We will not waste any opportunity to make this country grow, to make that this country could, together with Saudi Arabia and the BRICS, we can show our way of investment, our way of doing things, so that we can develop a new system and how to treat the people in a different way. So that's why I want to end my speech thanking you all and to say to all of you that this country, between 1930 and 1980, we grew an average of 7% the economy per year. Nevertheless, this economic growth was not well distributed. And when you ended this growth phase of these 30, 40 years, you can perceive that the country has grown economically, but the people continued poor. And we don't want that anymore, just to grow and not have distribution. We want everybody to grow together with the economy. That's why we don't have any litigation with any country in the world. That's why Brazil is never in war. That's why we're asking for peace between Russia and Ukraine. It's cheaper peace than war. You don't spend money with bombs. You don't destroy anybody. You don't destroy houses. And so I would like to remind Mercadante, the CEO of the National Development Bank, that I was in the White House in 2003 with President Bush, and he wanted to talk about the Iraq War, and he wanted to find someone to criminalize for the tower attacks of 9/11, and President Bush tried to convince me that he had to go to a war with Iraq, and Brazil had to participate in the war against Iraq. And if the Brazil participated in the war against Iraq, we would participate in the rebuilding of Iraq. And then I told President Bush in 2002, are you inviting me to destroy and then to rebuild afterwards? Wouldn't it be cheaper to leave it like it is and you don't destroy nothing and you don't have to rebuild nothing? And I said in those days to President Bush in 2002, I've never met Saddam Hussein. I'm not aware. I've never been to Iraq. Iraq is 14,000 kilometers away from Brazil. I have nothing against Saddam Hussein. My war is against hunger and poverty, and I want to rule Brazil to end poverty and hunger. And I managed to do that, and Brazil left the hunger map of the UN in 2014. But now hunger is back in Brazil, and now we have 33 million Brazilians again in hunger. It's very important for all of you to know that usually when we receive people, rich people that carry money, we have to hide poverty. No. Poverty exists, it's true, it's actual, and we have to have accountability for that poverty. This is the role of the ruler, and that's why your investments is very welcome in Brazil. And that's why we have this awareness, and that's why you're all are welcome to Brazil, because Brazil and Saudi Arabia, we're now part of the global South. We're not treated anymore as we were second-rate players. Now we're the global South. It's chic. It's chic to say that we're from the global South. And we want to draft development projects that are of the interest of the countries of the global South. We can't stay another 100 years relying on the North. We don't want to take nothing from them. We just want to offer the same opportunities that they had, that everybody should have. And under this aspect, Saudi Arabia is very important. That's why, brothers and sisters, and mainly our brothers and sisters from Saudi Arabia, I would like to say to you, very welcome to all of you to Brazil. Welcome to the city of Rio, and that this meeting could be a determinant factor in the most positive way to define the investments of the fund in Brazil. We're waiting for that. We have expectation, and I hope to meet you again in Kazan during the BRICS meeting of this year in Russia. And I hope to meet you again here in Brazil during the COP30 and during the BRICS chair of Brazil. And also at the G20. It's very important to know that the G20 for us is something very important that we're chairing this year, because we're going to try to discuss 3 subject matters that is of interest to Saudi Arabia. The inequality issue we're going to discuss. We're going to discuss the world governance issue, and we're going to discuss the energy transition issue. Thank you very much for your attention.